Good morning and welcome to another episode of Morning Java, brought to you as always by our friends at the Get-Go Cafe and Market, right behind that building here at the Steelers complex where they have excellent burgers. Hunter.
They do, man. I could smell grill during OTAs, I swear. Got a couple whiffs of that.
You smell burgers through the ranch dressing that inundate them?
Of course. It's a nice blending of flavor. That's what it's all about. Ranch blended with beef.
You seriously put ranch on them?
Of course.
Oh, jeez, dude. Okay, that is the Steelers complex, the Rooney Sports Complex, and the Steelers had their first OTAs on Tuesday, at least the first that are open to the media, and Ben Roethlisberger spoke, and a bunch of guys spoke, and the general theme was, yay us, we're together, we're united, and we're about to put did you get the impression from these guys that they're going to talk about this now? They're going to get it all out of their system and then that's it?
I think so, but I think so only because they're so thoroughly covering it. You know, they're so out there with it and so vocal about, hey, we're a team now, we're moving on, we're all about each other now, that we're just not going to need to repeat that narrative throughout the season unless something else happens.
I was going to say that I think that what will happen here, because I've gotten pretty decent at reading Ben in the many, many years I've been covering him, and Ben was going to stand there after this session for as long as it took. That was going to be his thing, because he's not going to talk again for weeks, okay? He was going to stand there and answer every bleeping thing that there was, including Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, you name it. But then the next time he's going to say, I talked about that at OTAs, I'm done with it, we're moving on.
Which to me is a pretty decent strategy, I think, from a PR perspective. It seems right. Can't fault him for that.
No, and it's even the rest of the guys too.
Oh yeah.
Cam Hayward, Ramon Foster, very similar notes.
Yeah, it was nice to hear from everybody. You know, Joe Hayden said the same thing. They were all kind of saying that and all amped up about how they're feeling as a unit.
Yeah, I think it might actually unite them in a way.
I'm feeling it a little.
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know how these rules work, when there's an NFL practice in play, there's certain things that we're allowed to report, we're not allowed to report. So we are not allowed to report that Diontae Johnson looked like a good receiver. We're not allowed to report that Diontae Johnson made a couple of nice catches and ran good routes. Assuming that actually happened, what are your impressions, first of all, the young man, because you spoke with him?
Yeah, I liked his demeanor a lot.
What do you mean?
He was very, very comfortable with me being right in his face with a selfie stick and a camera right in his face. It didn't faze him too much. He seemed calm, and I already saw him mingling with his teammates a little bit. You know, he started to come off the field at first, kind of saw all the cameras, all the swarm of media, quickly turned around, went back to Juju, played catch with Juju for a little bit until they cleared out, and of course I hung around to get him, but it was cool, man. I even asked him about Antonio Brown comparisons, and he handled that like a champ. So.
You would hope that he would have been ready for that,
Right.
But yeah, I like the idea that the wide receivers, and this is to AB's credit, by the way, the wide receivers forever with the Steelers have had this mentality of stay on the field longer. They're the last ones off because Antonio Brown, was the hardest worker in the group. So I like the fact that this kid's coming off and he turns around and goes, oh, Juju's still out there. That's something that we would hear over the years from Mike Tomlin. He'd see a younger receiver coming off the field and he'd say, what, AB left yet? AB leave yet? And they would all be like, no. Back. So that's good. That's right. Maybe Juju's going to be that guy, or maybe it's going to be Darius Hayward-Bay or someone like that, an older guy. But
yeah, so far it's too early to tell. You know, Moncrief even looked very comfortable today and in his own element, and all smiles in the postgame. I'm liking Moncrief a lot early on. His attitude. He's a funny guy. I think if he emerges the way that he can, Steelers Nation is going to fall in love with that guy.
He can. He's capable. That's for sure. We're also not allowed to talk about the fact that Ben's very first throw of these OTAs was picked off by Joe Hayden, except, and here's where that rule comes into play here, if you confirm it with the player, which I did with Joe Hayden, so we're allowed to talk about it. And Joe Hayden had a smile like this, but his teammates all got behind him. They're vocal, they're animated, they're spirited. You can roll your eyes at this stuff if you want, but at the same time, you can't have it both ways. You can't have ripping on their culture and ripping on their togetherness, whatever else, and then when we talk about their culture and their togetherness, say that it's not important. So Is that the sense that you got in particular, not to separate offense and defense here, but the defense was really it?
It was the defense more so than the offense, for sure. I mean, it was undeniable just watching them go. You mentioned the Hayden pick. I mean, it was like they just won the Super Bowl with that pick when he did it. It was the great, I mean, the very first play of shots in OTAs, and he gets a pick, man. They were loving it, and then later we saw some more plays, some more big plays, and every time it happened, man, they were just all huddling together, all about it. Great, I mean, just great teamwork, you know?
Yeah, and again, when we talk about OTAs, one thing that has to be underscored here is that these are literally voluntary. No one has to be here. And the attendance, I mean, I didn't take a complete roll call of all 90 guys, but I didn't see anybody missing.
That's what I was going to say. There's nobody glaringly missing.
So that sends a signal too.
Absolutely, and especially for the new guys. And I talked to Steven Nelson about it, and he felt a sense of, hey, I have to be there because
you mean the new vets?
Yeah. Just any new faces coming to town, rookies, new vets. Yeah, because Steven Nelson was saying, whenever all these guys come in the off season, that sets the example for me. You know, I need to be there for my team the way that they're here in their off time, putting in extra work. So it seems that that's already getting established with these guys.
Well, one quote that stood out for me after this session. I tried 3 or 4 times to kind of poke or prod Cam Hayward onto the subject at hand, and he came back with, we're talking about the few, not the many.